Hey, I want to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you want to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today is a very special episode. We're going to be talking about a whole lot today, and I've been trying to set up this interview for quite some time, and I'm so happy to have Jensine Larsen on the line, who is founder and CEO over at World Pulse, and also Kirthi Jayakumar, who's head of community engagement over at World Pulse. And I'm proud to announce there'll be an upcoming author in the book that we're launching with Dr. Nancy O'Reilly and Women Connect for Good. It's all about women helping women. And so we'll talk about a little bit of that today. And we'll also get into the overall topic, which is connecting women worldwide for social change through technology. And we'll talk about how Jensine and Kirthi are working on that. But before we do all that, we're going to first say, hey, welcome to the show, Jensine, Kirthi. We made it.
We're doing it. It's so great. And the presence of legends with Kirthi logging on from India, too. I'm so glad.
Oh, thank you so much, Kirthi, for making time for us. And I was just, as we were doing the warm up, we got a whole lot to talk about. But everybody that's listening or watching this already knows what comes next. We're going to start with what we call our Mission Matters Minute. So Jensine, Kirthi, at Mission Matters, our aim and our goal is to amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's what we do. Kirthi, Jensine, what mission matters to you?
Well, it's no secret. My mission is to link women worldwide using the positive power of technology to unite our collective global power. And I believe that we can refuse to be victims to the technology of today and reclaim it and own it. And it actually can be one of the greatest accelerators for social change on the planet today if we do so.
It's great. Love bringing mission-based individuals on the line and to share why they do what they do. Kirthi, do you care to comment at all? What mission? Why does this matter to you?
Absolutely. Thanks, Adam. I'm on a mission to build bridges among women across the world through technology, just so that they can make a difference by amplifying their voices, exercising their agency, and really collaborating and connecting with one another.
It's amazing. Great having you both on again. All right, so just diving into this. Whoever wants to take this one, World Pulse, like how did this begin? Like tell us a little bit more about the organization.
Great. Well, I'll start with the origin story since I am the founder. It began from my work as an international journalist at a young age. At 19, I was in the Amazon working with indigenous women who were struggling with oil contamination on their traditional lands, and their families and children had cancer because of it. And so they asked me to carry their stories and their messages to the world. And it was later working on the Burma-Thai border, working with women there fleeing ethnic cleansing who were saying the same thing to me, please carry our stories, where I had this realization, almost like a lightning bolt, of that I could no longer merely be a messenger for these extraordinary voices that carried so many solutions for the world. The world actually needed a communications platform where they could speak for themselves in their own words, and even more importantly, connect to each other to not feel so alone. So the dream started as a young entrepreneur that really had no idea what she was doing. And over the past decades, it's grown into what it is today. Which is a vast global social network connecting women, gender, diversity, and allies across over 200 plus countries and territories who are logging on, speaking out, connecting, mobilizing for change, and impacting millions more lives. So that's where we are today. And of course, Kirthi joined the journey, and Kirthi may want to share how you came aboard World Pulse.
I always say World Pulse has been the light of my life. And I don't know if you noticed the universe picking up on it. I had a power cut when we started and the light came on when you asked this question. So it's beautifully symbolic. But I was a community member at World Pulse, having joined about 12 years ago. And at the time that I joined, I was very quiet. I was just on the margins, observing the stories, drawing courage from the stories that other women would write. And when I came out with my own story of my history with violence and bullying, I found this ocean of support coming to me from people I didn't know, women who were so ready to just stand by me, to listen to my story, receive it, and hold it with a sense of care. And from there, my journey at World Pulse has been one of exponential growth. I grew into my leadership journey. I was an impact leader. I've been a digital ambassador. And then somewhere along the way, I found a different seat at the table where I now serve as the head of community engagement. All in all, a fantastic journey, truly.
Community engagement is such an important role, Kirthi. Like, what's one of your favorite parts of being in that seat? Because I know that's not an easy role. You're the face of a lot of conversations.
I think for me, it feels like coming into this dream world that Jensine has baked into reality. So it feels like walking into a little microcosm where every day you learn something. And that is really my favorite part, because I'm not only listening to stories, but I'm also coming to understand different worldviews, different experiences, and things happening around the world firsthand from these women.
Amazing. Jensine, I want to jump around a little bit here. So how does technology play a role in this mission? Let's go a little bit deeper on that side of things. Like, how do you see as technology as a way to empower this mission?
Sure. It's for so many of us who may be listening to this, I think it's very easy to fall into this dystopian view of technology. And it's no wonder. I mean, the rise of online violence, of disinformation, of divisiveness, the use of AI in the headlines that can undermine humanity. I mean, it's easy to feel hopeless, to feel trapped in what's out there. But we have to remember that the technology, the way it is today, is by design, and who has been designing it, and in the rooms and the minds. And it has been mostly the male perspective that often hasn't been feeling so unsafe in the world. And so we really believe we can design a new future. And if we do it carefully, responsibly, not the move fast and break things, which is the mantra of Silicon Valley, but to do it with ethics, with participation of some of the most left out in society, especially who may have disabilities or coming from remote regions or have very little access. Coming online for them can be very liberatory, that there's actually an outlet and a platform. Logging on from Afghanistan, for example, as the walls are closing in society, to have a place where people could hear you, even if your neighbors don't care what you have to say, or your own family, that there's a global space. So we really believe at World Pulse that instead of toxic tech, you can create tender tech that reflects the values of humanity. And we've seen it because firsthand, our community members are believing in the power of their voice as they come on, getting support, and then going on to build movements, launch initiatives, expand their businesses, similar to what Kirthi shared, that journey for her. Now she's paying it forward and nurturing so many more voices. And that's the cycle that we see coming into the very sacred online community at World.
And I find, and I've seen this, like when I think about, and I have a kind of a specific story on this one. I remember when I realized the power of this, and it was actually in the beginning of my journey in media and social media. So we're talking about 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago. Actually, this was about 9 years ago. And there was this for the those in the audience that are watching, this platform no longer exists in the form that it used to, but there was this platform called Periscope, and it was one of the first live streaming apps. And I realized, and when I used to go on there, like that was before Mission Matters, before anything else, I was a financial advisor. And I would normally stream pretty early in the morning before work because I was going into work. And so a lot of my audience was overseas. They were in the Middle East. They were all over the place. And when I realized the power specifically to make a difference in women's lives and for them to have a voice, was one particular of my followers, because Periscope was a little bit different. Like you could interact, and it was like, let's just say it was very connective. So you had your own kind of like communities there. But anyway, the point being is that this woman that had been coming, she'd always come to the streams, shared with the group something super significant. And I don't know the exact certificate, but what she shared with the group was that she was the first woman in Saudi Arabia to get this particular degree and or certificate for programming. And that's like not, and I'm like, wow. Like, so just her being able to tell, like, I can't even imagine what that would be like to have to kind of face some of the obstacles or the things that she did, and to be a first for something like that in her particular area. I was amazed. So even just and where I'm going with this, even just the power of being able for people to hear each other's stories and to hear their triumphs or their challenges or otherwise. Kirti, this one's for you as head of community there. And I know you're in the front of a lot of these stories. Like, what do you feel that, like, how does story or somebody's story, how does that unite? How does that play a role in these ingredients?
And in everything you just named, we're so intimately familiar with these feelings, with the way we also receive these stories, because that's truly the power of owning your narrative and then presenting that to people you may never get to meet, people who you may never know by face. We've spent the last decade and then some really on the front lines at World Pulse, witnessing the trauma that online and offline violence, censorship, and divisions can create in our communities and lives. And we've noticed that women are at the receiving end of a significant burden of this violence because of the already skewed social order that we're part of. But what we also see in these stories, this sense of absolute vehement refusal to see ourselves as passive victims, whether that's to technology or the patriarchy. And what we see these stories do is to create this powerful transformation, really. It's shifting us out of the fearsome trajectory we're on, because they humanize one another. They're not just a bunch of words that you see put together, cobbled somewhere on the internet. They're filled with emotion. They're telling you a lived experience. They're ambassadors of the truth. And so we know that the secrets of how we can use tech at our fingertips can really go forward to make positive change. And one vehicle for that is the stories that we see women around us tell. We've, at World Pulse, through these stories, what we've witnessed is another side of technology that maybe doesn't make the headlines as much as everything else does. But the one powerful reminder is that there are softer and gentler ways to navigate the world. And that's what these stories leave us with.
And to me, one of the things that have been interesting about like this journey of story in my own life, and I see it in other things and like what you're building as well, is just for me, that concept of community. Like, it's kind of changed in my mind, and I don't want to lead you with this, but I'll give you a little piece of what I feel it is. And then I want Kirti to tell me a little bit about what you think. But for me, originally going into the concept of community, I just thought about the people around me. I thought about like my friends, my family who I went to college with, like that was my community. Once I started implementing tech, and I'm not going to say I knew I was implementing tech. I'm not talking about an amazing platform like yours. I'm talking about social media. Okay, put up a Facebook page, whatever. Like, I mean, to me, that was building a community, but I didn't have that side of my, I'll say, brain like created. I didn't even know. I just thought it was just something online. Like, what does that concept of community mean to you, Kirti? Like, how is that, like, how do you build that?
I think the first thing to remember is that we are social animals. So community is our lifeblood. Perhaps we might have felt this stronger during the pandemic when we had to remain within confined spaces, divorced from our community. That might have been when it hit us in the collective, what community brings to our lives. Before World Pulse, my idea of community, Adam, was so similar to what you shared just now. My immediate friends, the people I see on the street around me. But I think World Pulse taught me a different meaning of community, which is to show up with relational solidarity and a sense of shared experiences and coming together on those shared experiences. It's very easy on the internet to see another person as just a profile picture and a name, and then have a big yell at them.
And not think it's a person, right? Like, yeah.
Exactly. And at World Pulse, that's what community is. It is humanizing the person who is coming onto the internet, perhaps because they're dealing with something that their offline lives does not have space to nurture in the way this online oasis can. So to me, it just feels like an ever-growing family with this really powerful nerve center of humanizing each other.
Amazing. And this one, Jensine, Kirthi, whoever wants to take this one, I want to go further into the platform and just the mechanics of what World Pulse is doing. So who wants to go maybe take it a level deeper of what it means to be a part of that community, whether it's from either side?
Yeah. I can jump in here. So the platform, it's basically a social network. If you can envision a Facebook platform that was really built and led by women and gender justice advocates globally, that's what it would look like. It's incredibly safe space. So no trolling, no harassment. If you look at the world today, the latest stats from the White House and the UN say 70% of women and girls globally have experienced some form of online abuse. That's massive. And when the online platforms talk about a public square, it's a farce, because the public square is incredibly skewed. Because if women and girls are getting attacked and not speaking out, especially of color or vulnerable voices, it's so that doesn't happen on World Pulse. It's very, very supportive. There's an ingredients that come together of 3 pillars, which is community, storytelling, and training. Community is, you know, when you speak out on World Pulse, you get like a cheerleading squad. You get support that comes in. We say it's the comment section brings out the best of humanity on World Pulse, which is very rare.
Which is, hold on, the antithesis of normal or the opposite of normal social media. Go ahead. I love it.
Yeah. So we welcome you to come in. It's easy to log on, and then you can immediately start to network. If there's country, if you're going to Cambodia, you care about Cambodia, you can find members on Cambodia and connect. Or if you care about issues like climate justice or healthy masculinities like men and boys, and you can find those groups and those stories and network and connect. But or tell your own story. And so storytelling is the second pillar of World Pulse, where the story is the crown jewel. The stories, to hear them, to listen, to value them. And we have an editorial desk that selects story awards and edits them with support, some small honorariums that mean a lot to many of our members who really received no validation or even resources for their voices ever. And then lastly is the digital training. So if there's a desire, our community really said we want more digital skills. So and Kirthi actually is the brainchild and has developed so many of these trainings on digital storytelling, digital change making, digital advocacy, and of course, safety and security. All of those come together to provide greater voice, connection, and resources for grassroots women globally. And that's the top 3 things that they've been asking for. Voice, connection, and resources around the world.
And I believe there's like badges and roles and like some other things. Let's get into that. Who wants to take that one?
I could take that one. So badges on World Pulse also tell a story, like our community members. And so the way we look at badges, Adam, is they chart out a leadership pathway on World Pulse. So let's say you're on World Pulse, your initial step is to maybe start by telling your story. You're introducing yourself, and then you go on telling more of your stories. So when you hit 10 stories, you get a badge as a vocal contributor. And then you go on your storytelling journey, where you actually can stand to win an award for a story you tell on World Pulse as well. And then, like Jensine said, community on World Pulse arrives as your personal cheerleading squad. And that happens in the form of encouraging comments and really just supporting one another by offering constructive criticism, just supportive encomiums, and just connections if they wanted to know who else on the platform is doing something similar, for example. And so the encouragers, they hold badges attesting to the actions they take. So when their comments on a story are validated by the one who's receiving that comment, saying that they felt affirmed by that encouragement, they win a badge as well. And then we also have digital ambassadors and change makers, which represent some of our long-standing members who bring in more voices into World Pulse and continue to create meaningful impact on ground. So the badges are, I would honestly, for me, getting the badge just felt like a really
the best.
Running a huge marathon. Exactly. So I do know that it means a lot to so many of our community members. There's that same nostalgic feeling comes up every time I see a member say, I won this badge.
We're human. We like badges, we like awards, we like certificates, we like to feel I think it's so I mean, we're programmed this way, like validation. There's so much more behind that to give somebody recognition because in all reality, when I look back, like and when you think about it, like if we're not intentful, and this goes beyond gender lines or anything, just as humans, like if we're not intentful with validating or recognizing other people, like do we actually feel seen, right? So I love the concept of badges and giving people that connection and that experience because you also don't know what somebody's going through, right? Like that badge could be what they're holding on to.
Absolutely. And it's so true. Even I'm the founder. And when I post my story on World Pulse and I get comments from, I'm like, oh, wow, women in Bangladesh and Democratic Republic of Congo feel like the same matters or they're behind me. And I think that's a big part of our message to audiences and with the chapter of the book too, is that there's so much power that you have to lift up others online and especially women around the world who are quite frankly feeling pretty low. I mean, the mental health, the abuse, the rollback of rights, it's 131 years by the World Economic Forum till gender equity, and things are often going backwards in societies. We see from Haiti to Afghanistan, and actually it doesn't take much. You can log on and leave a comment and support, and it can be transformative. It seems little and we take for granted, especially in the worlds where we have a lot of access and we're sick of doom scrolling. You can you're scrolling and posting and commenting can actually catapult a woman leader to go for her certificate in Saudi Arabia for digital skills, right?
Yeah. What are, speaking of that, let's go further on that. What are some ways that people or that women can reclaim their power and can be more active? Like, what are some ways?
I'll say one, Kirthi, and then you can go ahead and do that too. I think one, and we'll share some of these tips too in the chapter, but I think one way, speaking more broadly, is you can create take your phone and do a phone makeover and realize this phone is my phone. I have control over the data that's being shared, and I can put the apps on here on the homepage that support my health and well-being.
I love this, and I never called it a phone makeover. I do this all the time. I didn't know I was doing a phone makeover. I do it all the time. I'm like, that app's not serving me, and I move it off the home screen. I love it. From now on, I'm going to call it, it's a phone makeover. That's what I'm doing this weekend. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a phone makeover this weekend. Go ahead, please. I just had to tell you, I love that idea.
Yeah, and you can do like an appy hour, we call it, with your friends. Like, do
oh my gosh,
share the favorite apps that light you up. Like, put World Pulse on there, of course.
I love having cool people on the show. This is so fun. Appy hour. I'm just learning so much here today. I love it. Go ahead, please.
like one of my friends has I have the best app for my financial budgeting that's helping. I've gotten out of debt and I'm on track, and here's my app that cool, and you can share those and put the things that are going to enrich your life front and center, and take off the things that don't. So that's one.
I love it.
Kirthi, do you have others?
Yeah, thanks, Jensine. I really love that you started with that, because I was gonna share, become an encouraging force online. So if you've done your appy hour, you have World Pulse on your phone, your next step is to be an encouraging force online. So to me, that looks like being an antidote to online trolls. Maybe you're weaving networks of support, or maybe you're watching out for women you admire who are probably dealing with something difficult, and you just probably want to be there for them. Or there are people that you want to learn from. Maybe you're investing your time learning from their stories, for example. I think the key here is to take that first step, offer that encouraging word, maybe thank them for something you've learned from their work in life, and you can do that in public comments or in private messages if you're doing this on World Pulse. And the second action I would share would be to maybe think abundantly and pay it forward. For me, that has been about my journey with World Pulse, really just receiving so much at first and then trying to find ways to give back. But for you, it could look like paying attention to a particular cause that you want to address, making note of what your actions could look like, and really just investing time and effort towards doing that. Maybe you want to subscribe to the feeds of leaders who are inspiring you, or you want to do something to give it some online energy, or maybe donations if you're able to do that, or you want to sign a petition.
Yeah.
The options are endless, but if you thought abundantly, you'd easily be able to craft a clever way to put that into action.
Amazing. And so I want to jump around a little bit here. I want to talk a little bit about the book that we have coming out together. And just for everybody watching, just so you know, we're not going to talk about the book content too much today, but that's intentional because when the book is actually live and out later this year, we're going to invite Jensine and Kirthi back onto the show when the book is actually out there and live. But just to kind of get us queued up here, for everybody that hasn't been following the series, so we were putting together a book with, again, Dr. Nancy O'Reilly and Women Connect for Good, and they've done an amazing job of cultivating and bringing in the correct authors for this book. It's an anthology series, so each author will write a chapter, and I'm extremely excited. Keeping it super high level, just a couple of sentences. Again, we're not going to go too far into that one today. Jensine, maybe do you want to just talk just a little bit about what the book's going to be about? Your chapter in the book, I'm sorry, your chapter in the book specifically.
Yeah, so it's such a perfect fit with the Dr. Nancy's love of connecting women worldwide, women lifting up other women. And so our chapter is going to be what we're talking about today, and how you can use technology to access your own inner power and support and lift up women around the world.
All right, that's it. And that's it. That's enough teaser for everyone. Don't worry, they're coming back. But I do have one other Dr. Nancy story I got to get out because I need this one. I got to bring this out. So you've been out. I just learned this, by the way, for everybody watching this. I just learned this. So I went to, we've been releasing this series. We're interviewing all the authors. If you don't know, or if you haven't been following, again, go to YouTube, go to our podcast, wherever you can see the whole series. But we just released Dr. Nancy's interview literally maybe a couple of days ago. So this would be mid-May, we'll say mid to late May. But we went out to the Equestrian Center, the Southern California Equestrian Center. I got to see Dr. Nancy, her horses. Otherwise, amazing. The horses are in the interviews. We got Martini, we got Fast Eddie, we got the whole gang over there. So it's a lot of fun. But I didn't know this until recently, and I would like to hear a little bit about your experience, Jensine. So you were able to go out to the Equestrian Center too, right?
Yeah, so we were talking about this very special magic of getting to nuzzle horses and feel their soft muzzles on your face. And
they're beautiful.
Has such a deep bond with these animals of horses, and their horses are like the embodiment of leadership. They are used for healing and for helping people recover from trauma, and so it feels very special to be next to these majestic creatures, doesn't it?
Oh, I love it. It's so much fun. And I had my favorites. You're not supposed to pick favorites, but Martini's my favorite. Fast Eddie, maybe second or third. There's another couple that are fighting, but I'm talking about them like I know them, right? I've been once, but I love them. I just had such a connection with them. I have a picture of Martini over there on my coffee table. So just so you know, so I just had an amazing time. So thank you for sharing your story of being there. That being said, Jensine, Kirthi, it's been so much fun having you on the show and getting to know you both better. I just have to ask, I mean, what's next? What's next for you? What's next for World Pulse?
Oh, well, it's coming on the 20th anniversary of World Pulse. So
woo-hoo, congratulations. That's absolutely amazing.
20 years of leading the way in how technology can be different, and standing when a lot of other online platforms that work with women globally have not made it. So we're really happy to be looking at the next chapter. And there's rising leadership across World Pulse coming from our community into the governance and to the leadership roles. And so we're looking forward to multiplying more voices, more global women change makers who are solving global problems across the world, and really sharing this message that our phones do not have to be devices of mass distraction, but they can be these portals of purposeful connection and power, and yeah, we just have to wake up and reclaim it. And the pathways are there. So World Pulse will be at the forefront of that. And we invite everyone to be with on the next chapter with World Pulse.
I love it. On to the next 10 years. We'll be celebrating the 30 year. So I'm excited about this. And again, congrats on the 20 years. Nothing. I mean, that could be another book on itself. The journey of 20 years in this. Oh, I'm sure that's going to be a tome. That's going to be amazing. Well, again, thank you both. And if somebody wants to follow up, learn more, check out World Pulse, follow the journey, how do they do that?
So I think the best way to do this is to start your journey on World Pulse. Join the platform, whether you want to start by reading a real story and give encouragement, or you want to write your own story, or you want to team up with a change maker on their social impact initiatives that you see on the platform, you will find belonging and hope. And what World Pulse is this powerful digital community that has changed our lives. I'm living testament that it has indeed changed my life, and it's given us so much strength, helped us find voice and purpose. And all of this is available to you and millions more around the world. So log on, rise up with us on World Pulse. All you need to do is to go to our website, www.worldpulse.org. Or if you're up to it, you can download our app on the Play Store on the phone you use.
Amazing. And for everybody watching this, just so you know, we'll be putting all that information in the show notes so that you can just click on the links, head right on over, check out World Pulse. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters, and you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, we welcome you. Hit that subscribe button. This is a daily show. Each and every day, we're releasing new interviews. We're bringing out new entrepreneurs, new stories, hopefully some new magic to inspire things in your life as well. So we definitely want you to subscribe so you can hear some more stories. And again, Kirthi, Jensine, so much fun. Thank you for coming on. I can't wait till the next time we get to do this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Bye, Adam.